how would you go about setting up your own label? Maybe not so much how did you set up your own label, but now how would you go about setting up your own label?
Well, I guess it's completely different from when we all kind of probably started putting records out, because vinyl was a big deal, which it seems to be again, which is good. It is totally different. I mean, it's like another world. I mean, back then, when I started Creeping Bent, once I knew the sort of artists I wanted to work with, the first thing I had to do was think about getting a physical distribution deal. And I fortunately got one with Rough Trade, and that allowed me to make the records, get the records in the shops, get the records distributed and warehoused, etc. I think what's great now is if I was starting a label now, I would definitely start from a digital point of view, and it's so easy to do it now. I think you need to be imaginative in how you get noticed, but I think it's a great way of getting different types of music out there.
My label's pretty new, and the way I started was I didn't have any like massive startup money or anything, but just basically focused on the real idea of what I want to release and how I'm going to promote it. The first thing I got was a distributor, so I work with Kudos Distribution. They're really good. We've done a few vinyl releases, but there's so many problems these days in putting out vinyl, so I've just kind of now the last couple of years focused on digital and really targeting the new avenues, and especially like streaming, and just really working on the socials and getting the music out like that. But yeah, like you said, it is really, really easy, and the market's very, very saturated, so you need to have a really good product and a really good PR strategy to get noticed, I think.
I'd just like to add, there's a lot of talk always in the media about this massive resurgence in vinyl sales, which from my personal experience I would say is mainly a myth. My label is vinyl and digital. I mainly concentrate on the vinyl. I think if anyone was going into starting a vinyl label as a means to make a living, they probably need a massive reality check. I mean, I do this is my hobby. I love it. I make money from other aspects of music, from DJing. I put all my passion and love into releasing records, but it's very, very tough. And I think to go into having a label that does vinyl, it's essential that you have some sort of distribution worked out before. It is possible to do it yourself. You'll make more money if you do it yourself, but the actual work of doing it is very, very, very hard. But that's not to say you can't run a successful label, but I think you have to be very aware of limitations of how many records you might actually sell.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of echo what Keith said about the vinyl resurgence. I think Soma sort of started in the same sort of era in the early 90s as yourself, Douglas, and they started out mainly vinyl, and as the vinyl sort of slump in the early 2000s happened, they just moved mainly into digital exclusively. They were one of the first labels to take up with Beatport, which is one of the biggest sort of outlets for digital music, especially sort of house and techno. Sales aren't amazing. Personally, they sort of get by, pay the costs that we need to do for the label. So, I mean, Bandcamp's it's a great way.
But I think if all the meals are, I'm available on every digital outlet. Bandcamp is one that feels like it has the most soul to it, that you can put the most into it and maybe get the most back out of it and feel that you're reaching people.
Yeah, exactly. It does it directly. Sort of comes to the label. You are supporting the label. You're supporting.
Yeah, I mean, you actually see who's bought the music. You get a little avatar of everyone.
Yeah, you can see who's supported it. People can leave comments and say who's supported it, and then from that, other people can then see that they've commented on a release, and then they may come and buy it. And Bandcamp will tell you that your music has been bought from this sort of sharing idea.
How does everyone go about finding artists for the label? Is that difficult, given that I suppose making music is probably easier now than it's ever been, as well as...
I mean, it's the least difficult part. I'm literally inundated, but I also actively go out and seek. Glasgow is a phenomenal city it's one of the best in the world for the music that's made here, so I'm always trying to discover things on my doorstep. But also, the more people you know, more music comes your way, but then the flood of demos is like, it's a tidal wave of it. It's impossible to keep up with, so there's definitely not a shortage of... There's maybe a shortage of the absolutely amazing music, but there's no shortage of music that people want you to release.
I mean, Glasgow is amazing, and there's lots of, you just hear records every couple of years. I mean, I'm not sure if you were involved with the Golden Teacher stuff.
Yeah,
that was fantastic. And I mean, I mean, they were an amazing band, and it just kind of, I don't know what happened to them, but it just disappeared. But there's lots of artists like that in all the different genres, lots of producers, and it just makes something quite magical. And it feels to me like they're not really, these are the kids that aren't really bothered about, you know, necessarily expecting they're going to have a massive long-term career, but they make some good art and then they go and do something else. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the transitory nature of, you know, if anybody can make one great record, that's a massive achievement. You know, I really think that's fantastic, you know.